In a stone village outside Naples, an old man once sharpened knives for a few coins a blade. His grandson now runs the same route through Brooklyn and clears $4,000 a month. Here is what nobody tells you. The side hustles your Italian great-grandparents used just to survive are quietly making people wealthy again today. Number 14 on this list turned a kitchen table into a business that outsells the supermarket shelf. And number 3, Americans are paying premium prices for something Italian families once made for free in their own garages. These 20 trades were nearly erased by factories and fast food, but the families who remembered them never stopped earning. Before we start, hit that subscribe button because one of these might just replace your paycheck. Let's count down the 20 forgotten Italian side hustles that still make real money today. Number 20, the knife sharpener. In the villages of the old country, the Arrotino pushed his pedal-powered grindstone through cobbled streets, calling out until doors opened and housewives came running with dull blades and blunted scissors. Sparks flew from the whirling stone as he worked the edge, testing it against his thumb, charging just a few lire for a knife that could once again slice a tomato clean. It was humble work, but it was steady. Every kitchen had knives, and every knife went dull. Today, that trade has quietly become gold. Real cobblers of the blade are almost gone, yet every restaurant, every butcher, and every home cook still needs a razor edge. Mobile sharpeners now work farmers' markets and back doors of kitchens, charging $5 to $15 a blade. And a good weekend route can bring in more than a day job. The old man with the whetstone knew something we forgot. A skill nobody wants to learn becomes a skill everybody has to pay for. Number 19, the chestnut roaster. When autumn crept down from the Apennines, the Cal d'Aoste vendor set up his brazier on the corner, and the smell of roasting chestnuts curled through the cold streets like a promise. He slit each shell with a small blade, tumbled them over the coals until they hissed and split, then scooped them steaming into twists of newspaper. A cone cost a handful of coins, and workers bought them to warm their hands on the walk home. It was seasonal money, made in the months when everything else went quiet. That same simple cart still prints money today at fall festivals, holiday markets, and city sidewalks across America, where a bag of chestnuts that costs pennies to roast sells for $6 or $8. The overhead is a brazier and a sack of nuts. The margin is enormous. People do not line up for chestnuts because they are hungry. They line up for the smell, the warmth, and the memory of something older than the mall behind them. Number 18, the basket weaver. In the countryside, the Castello sat through the long winter evenings with reeds soaking in a bucket and willow bent across his knee, weaving baskets that would carry the harvest, hold the bread, and cradle the wine bottles for the journey to market. His hands moved without looking, the pattern learned so young he could no longer remember not knowing it. A good basket lasted decades. Farmers bought them by the dozen, and the weaver earned enough through the cold months to bridge the gap until spring. Machines and plastic nearly killed the craft entirely. But here is the twist. Handmade woven baskets now sell for $40 to $150 a piece to buyers who scroll past 1,000 identical factory bins looking for something a human being actually touched. Home decor shops beg for them. The very slowness that made the craft seem obsolete is now the thing people will pay a premium to own. Number 17, the cobbler. The Calzolaio worked in a narrow shop that smelled of leather and glue. A shoe pulled tight over his iron last, while he tapped in tiny nails one at a time. He resoled boots that had walked 1,000 miles, stitched split seams, and sent men back to work in shoes they thought were finished. It cost pennies, and it saved families the price of new footwear they could not afford. Nobody threw away a good pair of shoes when the cobbler could give them another 5 years. Then cheap sneakers arrived, and the shops closed one by one. Now that same skill is one of the rarest and best paid trades in any American city. A quality risoli runs $40 to $100, and cobblers who know the old techniques have waiting lists because people finally learned that a $500 pair of leather shoes is worth repairing, not replacing. The trade everyone abandoned became the trade with almost no competition left. Number 16. The chair mender. The impagliatore traveled between villages with a bundle of rush and cane slung over his shoulder, repairing the woven seats of kitchen chairs that had sagged and snapped under years of Sunday dinners. He would strip the broken seat, soak the fresh reed, and weave a new one so tight it would outlast the frame. Every household had chairs, and every chair eventually gave way. It was quiet, patient money, the kind that never made anyone rich, but never ran dry either. That craft has become almost extinct in America, which is exactly why it pays. Chair caning and rush weaving are lost arts, and antique dealers, decorators, and families with an heirloom set will pay $200 or more to save a single chair. Furniture restoration built on these old skills has become a genuine business. The man who could mend a seat by hand once earned bread. His skill today earns a fortune precisely because so few remember it. Number 15. The beekeeper. On the sun-warmed hillsides, the apicultor tended his hives in the shade of the almond trees, moving slow and calm through the smoke, lifting frames heavy with golden comb. He sold honey by the jar and beeswax by the block, and in a good year the bees brought in money for nothing more than a little care and patience. Oral histories from the countryside recall honey used as medicine, as payment, and as the only sweetness many families could afford. That humble sideline has become one of the most reliable small earners of the modern age. Raw local honey now sells for $10 to $20 a jar. Beeswax becomes candles and balms that sell for even more, and farmers will pay beekeepers just to park hives on their land for pollination. A few hives in a backyard can quietly bring in thousands a season. The bees do most of the work. They always did. Number 14. The pasta maker. This is where things get interesting. On the kitchen table dusted white with flour, the nonna cracked eggs into a well and worked the dough with the heel of her hand until it turned smooth as silk, then rolled it thin enough to read a newspaper through and cut it into ribbons hung to dry over the backs of chairs. It was Sunday tradition, made for love, not money. But it turns out love was leaving money on the table. Fresh, handmade pasta now sells for $12 to $18 a pound at farmers markets, where shoppers walk right past the dried supermarket boxes to buy something made by hand that morning. Pasta-making classes fill up at $75 a seat. A kitchen table, a bag of flour, and a dozen eggs have become the cheapest business to start and one of the fastest to sell out. The grandmother who fed her whole family for a few lire was sitting on a trade that now outsells the store shelf entirely. Number 13. The liqueur maker. Along the Amalfi Coast, families steeped bright lemon peels in alcohol for weeks until the liquid turned the color of sunshine, then sweetened it into limoncello poured ice cold after dinner. In the north, they made nocino from green walnuts, and in the hills, they made bitter amari from erm, whose recipes were guarded like family secrets. Every household had its own version, made for free from what grew in the yard. Those old recipes are worth real money today. The craft cocktail and small batch spirits boom has sent people hunting for authentic Italian liqueur recipes, and licensed makers build entire brands on formulas that once existed only in a nonna's memory. Even setting the bottles aside, the knowledge itself has become a product. Recipe collections, tasting events, and classes teaching the old methods. What families once poured for guests without a second thought has become a genuine artisan trade worth building a business around. Number 12. The sauce maker. Every August, the whole family gathered for LA Conserva, the day the tomatoes came in by the crate. Grandfathers crushed them, mothers strained the pulp, children carried the bottles, and by nightfall, the pantry held enough passata to redden every plate of pasta until the next summer. It cost almost nothing, and it wasted nothing. That harvest ritual has quietly become one of the most profitable small food businesses in America. Small batch tomato sauces, jarred passata, jams, and preserves sell for $8 to $15 a jar at markets, where buyers crave something that tastes like it was made in a kitchen instead of a factory. A single afternoon of canning can turn a backyard tomato patch into a weekend of sales. The families who bottled their summer to survive the winter never imagined that the very same jars would one day carry a premium price and a handwritten label. Number 11. The tailor. In the sartoria, the tailor draped cloth over a shoulder, marked it with a nub of chalk, and cut with heavy shears in a single, confident line, building suits and dresses that fit one body and one body only. When money was tight, the same hands turned collars, let out seams, and mended tiers so a garment might serve 2 more years. Every family relied on him, and the work never stopped. Today, skilled tailors are scarce, and that scarcity has become their fortune. Alterations alone bring $15 to $50 a job, and there is never a shortage of work because clothes rarely fit off the rack, and almost nobody sews anymore. Bridal alterations, suit tailoring, and simple hemming keep a home-based tailor busy year-round with barely any advertising. The needle and thread that once just kept a family clothed now quietly out-earn plenty of salaried jobs, one seam at a time. Number 10. The potter. In towns like Deruta and Vietri, the Vasallo turned clay on a foot-powered wheel, and the painter followed, brushing bright majolica patterns of lemons and vines onto plates and tiles. Before the kiln locked the color in forever, the whole village ate off dishes made 3 streets away, and the potter sold his work at market to anyone passing through. Machine-made china nearly buried the craft, but handmade ceramics have come roaring back because a mass-produced plate is invisible and a hand-painted one is a conversation. Artisan bowls, mugs, and tiles now sell for $30 to $200 each through online shops and boutiques, and the more obviously handmade they look, the more they fetch. The trade that seemed hopelessly outdated the day the factory opened has become exactly the thing shoppers hunt for. Imperfection, once a flaw, is now the selling point. Number 9. The leather worker. In the workshops of Florence, the pelletieri cut hides by hand and stitched them with a curved needle and waxed thread, building bags, belts, and wallets meant to be handed down rather than thrown away. The leather smelled rich and alive, and the maker's stitches were so even they looked machined, though no machine had touched them. His work carried a lifetime guarantee simply because it was built to last one. That craft has become one of the most lucrative artisan trades alive. Handmade leather goods now sell for $50 for a simple wallet and several hundred for a bag, and buyers seek them out specifically because the mass market is drowning in plastic and glue. A small workbench, good hides, and patient hands can build a brand from a spare room. The Florentine who stitched by candlelight understood the secret that luxury brands now charge thousands for. Real leather, joined by hand, never goes out of style. Number 8. The gelato maker. The gelatiere woke before dawn to cook his custards, folding in fresh fruit and toasted nuts before churning the mixture slow and dense, then wheeling his cart into the piazza where children pressed their noses to the glass. A cone cost pocket change, but on a hot evening the line stretched down the street, and the maker sold out before the sun went down. Gelato has become one of the highest margin treats a small vendor can sell. The ingredients cost little, but a scoop brings $4 or $5, and a gelato cart at fairs, weddings, and festivals can clear a season's income in a summer. Artisan gelato shops built on old family recipes charge a premium and get it, because factory ice cream simply cannot match the taste of a custard made that morning. The cart that once delighted a village square now runs on the same simple truth. People will always pay for a small, cold, perfect pleasure. Number 7. The cheesemaker. Before dawn, the casaro heated the morning's milk in a copper vat, watched for the exact moment the curds formed, then plunged his hands into the hot whey to stretch fresh mozzarella into glossy white orbs while it was still warm enough to burn. Ricotta rose from the leftover whey, and nothing was wasted. Farm families made cheese because they had milk and no way to keep it, and they sold what they did not eat. That skill has become quietly valuable again. Fresh mozzarella pulled to order sells for premium prices at markets. Artisan cheeses fetch far more than anything shrink-wrapped, and cheese-making classes fill fast at $75 to $100 a head. A single cow or a standing milk order can supply a genuine business. The maker who once turned surplus milk into supper had a trade that now turns the same milk into a livelihood, one warm ball of mozzarella at a time. Number 6. The oil presser. When the olives came down in November, families carried their sacks to the frantoio, where the great stone wheels crushed the fruit to paste, and the press squeezed out oil so green and fresh it caught in the throat. Each household got back the oil from its own trees, enough to cook and dress and light the year. It was liquid gold, made from fruit that grew on its own. Small batch olive oil has become one of the most prized products a farm can sell. Fresh, single-source, extra virgin oil now commands $20, $30, even $50 a bottle, sold directly to buyers who have finally learned how different real oil tastes from the supermarket blends. A modest grove and a good press can supply a premium brand with a story people pay extra to believe in. The families who pressed their own oil to survive were guarding a product the modern market treats like a luxury. Number 5. The truffle hunter. Before the sun rose, the cavatore walked into the oak woods with his dog straining at the leash, watching for the moment the animal froze and began to dig at the roots. Buried in the damp earth lay the truffle, knobbled and plain, worth more by weight than almost anything else the forest could offer. The hunter told no one his spots and passed them only to his children. Truffles remain staggeringly valuable, selling for hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars a pound, and the ancient skill of finding them has become a business in its own right. Trained dogs, guided truffle hunts sold to tourists as experiences, and direct sales to restaurants turn a walk in the woods into serious money. The knowledge of where and how to find them cannot be bought or faked. It can only be learned, slowly, the way the old hunters learned it, which is exactly why it still pays like nothing else. Number 4. The winemaker. In the cool of the cellar, the family pressed their grapes, filled the great glass demijohns, and let the vino della casa work through the winter, while the vinegar mother waited in the corner for whatever went sour. Every household made its own, poured freely at every meal, judged proudly against the neighbors. It cost only the grapes and the waiting. That homemade tradition now feeds one of the fastest-growing crafts in America. Small wineries, urban wine projects, and home vintners built on old country methods turn a patch of vines into bottles that sell for real money. And the knowledge of traditional winemaking has become a sought-after skill in a market obsessed with authenticity. The families who made roughhouse wine for the dinner table were practicing a craft that today builds brands, fills tasting rooms, and turns a cellar full of demijohns into a genuine income stream. Number 3. The meat courier. Here is the one Americans now pay a fortune for. In the cold cellar, the Norsino rubbed pork legs with salt and hung them in the dark, packed spiced meat into casings, and waited months while the air and time did their slow work, turning fresh pork into prosciutto, salami, and soppressata. Families did this in their own garages and basements for free, because a cured leg of pork could feed them through a winter with no refrigerator. Now that same craft drives the entire artisan charcuterie boom. Hand-cured salami and sopressata sell for premium prices. Small producers build devoted followings, and the skill of curing meat the traditional way has become one of the most valuable and admired in the food world. What Italian families hung in their garages as plain survival, Americans now line up to buy by the ounce off a marble counter. The trade never lost its worth. We simply forgot who invented it. Number 2, the coffee man. In the village bar, the day began with the hiss and knock of the espresso machine as the barista pulled shot after shot, and behind him the roaster tumbled green beans until they cracked and darkened and filled the street with an aroma that woke the whole town. Coffee was ritual, and the man who made it well was the heart of the morning. That tradition has become one of the most reliable businesses on earth. Micro roasteries turn raw beans that cost a few dollars a pound into roasted coffee that sells for $15 or $20. Espresso carts serve a $5 drink made from pennies of grounds, and subscription roasters ship bags to loyal customers month after month. The margins are extraordinary, and the demand never sleeps. The barista who opened the village each morning was standing at the center of a trade that now brews some of the steadiest money a small maker can find, one cup at a time. Number 1, the vinegar maker. And finally, in first place, the slowest and richest side hustle of them all. In the warm attics of Modena, families kept batteries of small wooden barrels, and into them went the cooked grape must that would age not for months but for decades, moved cask to cask as it thickened and darkened into true balsamic vinegar. A set of barrels was started at a child's birth and given as a dowry at their wedding. This was not cooking. This was patience, turned into inheritance. Traditional aged balsamic remains one of the most valuable food products in the world, with bottles aged 12, 18, and 25 years selling for hundreds of dollars for a few precious ounces. The families who kept those attic barrels were building generational wealth so quietly that most of the world never noticed. The vinegar the modern market treats as liquid treasure was, in the old country, simply what you left in the attic and handed to your children. Slow money, it turns out, was always the best money of all. From the knife sharpener's spinning stone to the attic barrels of Modena, these 20 forgotten trades tell one simple truth. The things Italian families once did just to survive have become the very things people will pay a premium for today, precisely because almost no one still knows how. Here is my challenge. Pick one this week. Just one. Roast the chestnuts, roll the pasta, cure the meat, start the barrel. Then come back and tell me in the comments which one you would actually try, because someone out there is about to turn their grandparents' old trade into a paycheck, and it might just be you.